President, last week, pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly announced it was going to lower the price of their insulin product. It's called Humalog. They're going to lower it dramatically by 70% and cap the out-of-pocket cost for insulin at $35 a month. After 2 decades of price gouging, this is a major relief for more than 7 million patients, more than 200,000 living in my state of Illinois, who depend on insulin every day to stay alive. But despite the importance of this announcement, I won't be sending thank you cards to the executives of this pharmaceutical company. You see, it was a century ago, 100 years ago, when basic forms of insulin were discovered. The Nobel Prize-winning researchers who pioneered that discovery surrendered the patent rights, their property rights in this new discovery, for $1. Why? To prevent profiteering on this life-saving medication. Now fast forward almost 100 years to 1996. Eli Lilly introduces its insulin drug, Humalog. They set the price of a vial of this insulin at $21. Made sense. It only cost a few dollars to manufacture it. But in the years since 1996, Eli Lilly prioritized profits over patients. The same vial of insulin that Eli Lilly first sold for $21 was now being sold for $300. Eli Lilly raised the price more than 30 separate times. What happened to the same drug made by the same company, sold in Canada? It was only $40, $300 in the United States. Is it any wonder that Eli Lilly generated more than $22 billion in revenue from insulin alone between 2014 and 2018? Let me repeat that number, $22 billion in profit during that 4-year period. And let's be clear, during the same time, Eli Lilly spent $1.5 billion on sales and marketing for insulin. Try to turn on a television set and get away with not seeing a pharmaceutical commercial from this company and so many others. Eli Lilly spent 4 times more than it spent on research for marketing this product and others. The company's profit-taking on this life or death drug has had deadly consequences. When the price went up to $300 a month, many people just couldn't afford it. More than 1 million Americans report having to ration or cut back doses of insulin, an extremely dangerous gamble. I received a letter from one of my constituents from Palos Park who faced that. His name is Phil, 73 years old. Phil told me he's had to skip insulin injections because of the cost. He wrote that he was, quote, anxiously awaiting lower prescription prices. Well, there's good news for Phil and a lot of other Americans. You don't have to wait any longer. Last year, Democrats lowered the cost of prescription drug. Why didn't I say the Senate lowered the cost? Because not a single Republican would vote for it. Not one. We enacted a new penalty to stop pharma's outrageous price hikes. We enabled Medicare to finally negotiate lower prices. We also made vaccines, like the shingles vaccine, which costs nearly $400 a dose, entirely free for seniors under Medicare. We said no senior on Medicare will pay more than $2,000 out of pocket for medications in a year. Finally, we capped the price of insulin at $35 a month. All of these measures are part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which President Biden signed into law, and Republican members of the House are now saying they want to repeal in its entirety. Clearly, our legislation put Big Pharma on notice. It let them know their days of price gouging are numbered. We're not finished. There are now 2 very different visions of health care in America, the Democratic vision and the Republican vision. Instead of voting to cap insulin prices, Republicans blocked our proposal that would have applied the $35 premium to all Americans and not just senior citizens. We needed 10 Republican votes on the floor. We got 7. And get this, now many Republicans are talking about repealing the whole law and raising drug prices, exactly what America does not need. As long as we're in charge in the Senate and have a president in the White House, we won't let it happen. In fact, we want to work with Republicans, if they're willing, to do more. Let's extend the $35 insulin cap to all other diabetic patients in America. Is that a radical idea? Senator Warnock of Georgia has a bill to do this. The question, are Republicans willing to join us? That's what it takes to pass it. While we're at it, let's put an end to pharma schemes that unjustifiably extend monopolies and harm patients' access to drugs. Last month, the Senate Judiciary Committee, which I chair, reported out 5 bipartisan bills to address patent abuse and anti-competitive tactics that prevent generic drugs from coming on the market, keeping prices high for American families. The full Senate should take up and pass these bills. And we should pass the bill that I've introduced with Republican from Iowa, Senator Grassley, to address the outrageous direct-to-consumer drug ads that you see on television. We all see them. On average, every American watches TV is going to see 9 drug ads every single day. How many countries allow advertising of drugs on television? 2. The United States of America and New Zealand. Go figure. Pharma spends $6 billion a year flooding the airwaves so the average American sees all those ads, promoting the most expensive drugs in the world. Pharma thinks if they bombard you enough with ads so that you finally get to the point you might be able to spell Xarelto, you'll insist to your doctor that's the blood thinner you want, even though there may be less expensive alternatives just as effective. Well, Senator Grassley and I have a radical idea. If they can put all those disclaimers on those ads, give you all the information, say things that sound nonsensical on their face, if you're allergic to this drug, don't take this drug. How do I know I'm allergic? Well, if they put all that on there, they ought to be able to put for 5 seconds on every ad, the cost of the drug. The cost of the drug. You'd be amazed. Some of these drugs cost $9,000 and $10,000 a month, and they're peddling them on the air like they're just pretty common, pretty affordable. They're not. If they're advertising a drug and rattling off side effects, they should disclose the price up front. It's a basic step toward transparency for patients, and even former President Trump agreed with us on this one. He supported our efforts. I'm glad we capped the price of insulin. There's a lot more to do. Will it be bipartisan? If it isn't bipartisan, it's going nowhere. I hope the Republicans will join us as people across America celebrate the affordability of prescription drugs for Medicare recipients. Madam President, I ask consent that the last statement I make